Yeah, this episode's not going to suck like the last 100 or so. This one's going to rock with the nice guys on business.
I actually call that Beider-Meinhof phenomenon. Nothing's relevant to you until you make it relevant to yourself. Your brain will literally ice it out. If you don't invest, it's not relevant to you.
Right.
You'll never learn it. So the best thing you could do if you're 18 is buy a share of something and then start looking at it. Now it's relevant to you. And if you have a little bit of money in it, now it becomes really relevant. And you'll actually be teachable at that point.
In a court ruling U.S. versus Fishbein, a man subjected to potential incineration while wearing another man's suit is entitled to $10,000 worth of airline tickets. It's an obscure ruling, but a very important one to the nice guys on business. Running a business is hard. Being a business leader is even harder. The nice guys bring in top industry pros to help your business prosper in a tough world. Get real advice from real people to get you real results today. Now it's time for the Nice Guys on Business. Here's your hosts, Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonner.
Okay, nice guy community. From a liability perspective, I like the idea of appearing, well, invisible. Yeah, not like a superhero invisible, but more like property, assets, investments, tax liability standpoint. Yeah, that perspective, I really don't like to have to give our government, any more money than we absolutely need to. And today we're going to take a dive into this. Founding partner of Anderson Business Advisors, Toby Mathis is a tax attorney for well over 20 years and has helped his clients apply some common sense legal strategies to become even more invisible. So Toby is the go-to expert in applying the tax code. How do I know that? 196,000 people follow him and follow his channel on YouTube. So I know this guy has some street cred. He is the go-to expert in applying tax code, asset protection, probate, and trusts, and provides expert tax advice. His personal experience investing in over 200 real estate properties himself and projects in the U.S. comes with him today as his experience. Let's protect our community from Uncle Sam. Toby, welcome to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Doug, thanks for having me. This is awesome.
This is one of the subjects that I love. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you there. This is one of the subjects that I love talking about so much, even as like I know too much to actually be an expert. I mean, to be an amateur, but I don't know enough to be an expert at it, nor do I want to go through law school and all that other stuff. I'm way, way too lazy for any of that stuff that you've done. How much of this stuff is real world, and how much of this stuff that we hear is kind of fluff? It's like, hey, I'd love to do that, but man, it's just too many steps to go through. Am I missing a whole bunch of stuff by not taking advantage of all of the stuff that you can share?
Yeah, I'll give you an analogy. It's like if you flew into Orlando and you're going to go to Disney World, you rented a car, you could follow the signs that will take you to Disney World, and all along the way they hit you with those little tolls. It used to be at the booth and you'd throw it in the urinal. Here's a quarter in a urinal.
Right. Yep.
But now they just take a snapshot, right? Well, there's an exit right outside the airport you could take, and you could just drive the surface streets called Sand Lake Road. Takes you right to the same spot. One you pay the toll, one you don't. It's just knowing which one, and then you get to decide. I mean, I'd just rather know. It's the old adage, is the juice worth the squeeze? I'd rather know what my options are. And if you go through oblivious, you tend to overpay. And the only question is how much? And then over your lifetime, is that really like your entire retirement amount? Like, is that how much you've overpaid, or is it just a small amount? And it really depends on who you are and what you're doing. Now,
you made before I hit record, you made an interesting comment, and I want to expand upon it a little bit. You said, hey, for the guy that's out there listening that might be making $10,000, $20,000 a year, it may not be as big a liability. Certainly from a percentage perspective, it may be less, or it may be definitely less money than somebody making $500,000 or even $100,000 of income. Mm-hmm. Is this the stuff that can apply to anybody, or is this the stuff that applies only to the people that have all of this excess cash that they have an income that they need to find a shelter from so that they're not getting hit with taxes?
It can apply to anybody, Doug. And the way I look at it is this: if I'm making $30,000 a year, $3,000 is a lot of money to me.
Yeah.
If I'm making $3 million a year, $3,000 may not seem like a lot of money to me. It's all a matter of perspective. And so some people are saying, oh, tax strategy, you don't do that. Oh, it's not going to save you that much. Well, it could be the difference between having profit and no profit, or having a vacation and no vacation. And so, I never put my wallet in somebody else's pocket. I just said, like, here's what your options are. So if you're a real estate investor, for example, there's something called bonus depreciation. Everybody talks about these things called cost segregations and accelerating depreciation. Well, you might just, maybe you end up with a whole bunch of extra loss and it doesn't do you a nickel of good. Maybe it offsets $100,000 of income and does a huge amount of good. Maybe you qualify in one of these unique areas, like you're an Airbnb and it's a trader business and you run it yourself and it offsets your W-2 income. You get to decide that. I just never want to be the guy that sits here and says, oh, you have no options, just pay it.
All right, so let's talk about some practical things that those that are listening in our community, because we really don't know, who's listening. You got the guy that's probably making a part-time hustle $10,000 a year, and that's all the money that he is making. And then you got somebody that's making $500,000 or $1 million a year. That's a whole different, set of characteristics for that person. But let's talk just in generalities. Where are people making their biggest faux pas? Where's the biggest mistakes coming from right now, do you think?
You know what I think it is, and this is my personal perspective looking at data. I watched the IRS data book and the information that they put out, and there's a Syracuse University, something does a tracking system. If your income's too low, you are in a really high audit rate. In fact, the highest audit rate there is people that have the earned income tax credit. And that's the hassle factor. I just don't ever want to get audited. If you said, hey, Toby, you could spend 38 extra minutes a year and your audit rate drops 800%. I'd probably take that action for you, right?
All right. What's the 38 minutes that gets me that gets me such a reduced amount of probability of being audited? I want to know that.
Well, here's an easy one. Don't be a sole proprietorship. There's an easy one for you, right? When I look at the data, the sole proprietors start at about 0.8%. They go up to about 2.4%, 1.6%, depending on what year you're looking at. And I know that an S Corp is audited at 0.2%. So if I want to lower my audit rate 800% to 1600%,
just that alone,
I make that S election. And then somebody says, oh, but there's more formalities. They always have some nonsensical comment. And it's like, okay, so you should be operating as some sort of entity so that the liability doesn't follow you around until you're dead if something bad happens. But so let's assume that you're at least you're an LLC and your accountant said, let's just be a sole proprietorship. I would say you might want to make that S election. And the reason being is it's literally the same tax return. It's just whether it's on a Schedule C on your 1040 or something called an 1120S. It's the same numbers. They look up pretty much identical. But what it does, it eliminates a big chunk of your employment taxes if you're making money. And it also allows you to reimburse 100% of your medical or your business expenses, period. Like if I have a cell phone, sole proprietor, I got to track my business use and my personal use. If I'm an S Corp, I can just reimburse the whole dang thing. And what it does is it magically keeps you not only from getting audited, but here's the more important one. How often do you lose that audit when you're audited? When you're a sole proprietor, they lose their audits. Do you want to guess, Doug, how often?
Oh my gosh. I don't even, I'm going to say 50% of the time they're losing their audits.
94 to 95% of their audits they lose.
Why? Just because of poor record keeping, or?
It's actually pretty simple. It's because everything that they're telling you about the lack of formalities is wrong. The rules are identical for books and records of an S Corp and a sole proprietorship. You still have to keep track of your income. You still have to keep track of your expenses. What happens is it lets your guard down. And so, I'm an old boxer, and the punch that knocks you out is the one you don't see. So they always say, like, hey, you don't have to keep these records. Well, actually, you do. Okay, but I didn't keep these records. Yeah, that's why you lose 95% of the time.
Got it.
Yes, when I put numbers side by side, I've actually done the geek analysis. If you're making $25,000 a year, it saves you about $1,700 a year to be an S Corp versus a sole proprietor.
Well, right? That's a lot of money for somebody making $25,000 a year.
Thank you. I never get to have an accountant will almost never utter those words. They usually say something that defends their position of not doing anything. They usually say, but you have to pay state filing fees. Yeah, you do that with an LLC anyway. But it's a separate tax return. It's the same numbers that you're putting on a Schedule C or an 1120S. but there's more formalities. No, not from a tax perspective. Maybe from a state, maybe you're supposed to have one extra meeting. You're having the meeting anyway. Like you have an LLC, you're renewing it every year. You're having a meeting whether you know it or not.
Right.
But these guys just always spout off something to defend their position as opposed to just saying, yeah, it actually saves my client money.
So I got somebody in my community that is, their ears are now, standing straight up on end, and they're like, okay, all right, I'm a sole proprietor right now, and I want to go ahead and make this thing, my company, an S corp or even an LLC. Mm-hmm. Is it a challenging process to go through as an individual? Do I need to bring in a professional, or can I do it myself?
Well, so we answer this in two ways. Number one, is it easy? If it's an LLC, it's literally one piece of paper. You're filing a 2553. It's a form. You just sign it, and you're done. You're an S corp. That said, you should always have a body of your business. If you want to separate your business from you, from a liability standpoint, from an estate planning standpoint, from a business credit standpoint, from a will anybody treat you with respect standpoint, you should have a separate body, and you don't do that yourself. You always hire a professional to do it. Anybody who says differently, then just ask yourself, any business person that you know that you respect, ask yourself, what would they do? Would they go on to an internet site and try to conjure up some documents, or would they say to their lawyer or accountant, hey, could you draft these up?
Does the stuff that you're talking about just apply to those people that have this side hustle, or they have a full-time career as an entrepreneur, or can some of these things work without the LLC versus S corp versus sole proprietor as a W-2 employee?
Yeah, the principles work across the board, but the old adage is, if you are an employee, you earn money, you're taxed, and then you spend what's left. If you're a business, you earn money, you spend it, and you're taxed on what's left. Subtle difference, huge difference, dollars and cents wise, but you got to have that business income. And the only question is where you're going to get it from. So maybe it's side hustles, maybe it's other things. But just because you don't have that business doesn't mean that you don't have the opportunity to do massive tax reduction. And one of the things that I see a lot is people are doing things out there. Sometimes they're working in their community. I'll use a gentleman who is a real estate investor, and he loves volleyball. And so he wanted to sponsor he actually ended up coaching the local high school team, and he was dumping a lot of money into it. And I said, I hope you set that up as a nonprofit, so at least you can deduct all the
right.
And he was like, what? he was building a flipping auditorium for these girls, and it literally like spending a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars. He couldn't deduct any of it until he created a 501c3. Now, can he offset his W-2 income with that? Yes, up to 60% of your income you can offset with donations to a charity. Is a qualified charity. Does it amateur sports qualify? Yep. Education qualifies. Here's some weird ones. Housing qualifies. If you're willing to do Section 8 or low income housing or veterans housing, transitional housing, recovery housing, anything that's something that seems to be a need, it could actually be done as a nonprofit. IKEA is a nonprofit. People don't realize the NFL was a nonprofit. One of our attorneys actually helped convert that over to be the for-profit realm. Major League Baseball is a nonprofit. Almost every school, college, university is a nonprofit. Almost every hospital is a nonprofit. But we ignore it as individuals. We don't even realize, hey, we're spending this money and we're doing these good things. It could literally take a huge chunk out of your W-2 income. And people are going to say, but I'm not a business. Well, actually, you can be. You might be a nonprofit, but it could still have a major impact.
When I think about tax liability reduction, I think about things like the simple things that I learned as a new employee to a company when I first got out of college. And it was, make sure you're contributing to your 401k and let the company contribute, whatever they're going to. Make sure you're putting money into an IRA. Make sure that you're contributing to a flexible spending account or an HSA. Are these simple strategies missed oftentimes by people, or is this something that is it not worth talking about at all because it's not an area of opportunity for reducing tax liability any longer?
Yeah, Doug, so they absolutely miss it. And it's because they don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. They're not actually doing the numbers. They don't understand. Like an HSA, great example. I could put in individually, I think it's $3,600, $3,650 maybe.
Something like that, $3,770, I think it was this year or whatever, something like that.
Yes. If I'm a family, $7,300. But not only do I get a deduction, so it's saving me whatever my tax rate is. So let's say I'm in the 22% tax bracket. Okay, save me $1,400, and you're like, slow clap. Yep, I don't think I'm going to do that until I say, well, wait a second, it grows tax free.
Right.
And as long as you use it eventually on medical expenses, you're never going to pay tax on that ever again. Well, if we just stick it in the S&P and we look at the last 15 years, last 10 years, whatever period, except for this last year, we probably don't want to use the S&P when it's taking a nosedive, but you look at it over a longer period of time. Let's say we kept it in there for 10 years. Your average is 10% plus 11% if you look at the last 10 years. That means it's going to be doubling up, couple times, few times. So it goes from, hey, I saved $1,400 or whatever it was, that was my saving. Now it's 28. Now it's 5,300. All of a sudden I have a little bit of chunk of money there. And that if that's all I did, I planted that seed and walked away from it. If I need it, I could still get it. There's a small penalty to take it out, and you pay the tax when you do take it out. But that's just one example. You said a 401k. If your employer's matching it,
it's free money.
Crazy not to. Yeah, it's like, hey, they just doubled your money.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know. Doubling is all neat, but I think I'd rather do crypto.
Yeah, look at what that's done. What is it, minus 80% right now over the last 12 months?
Oh, but I dollar cost averaged it. Come on.
Perfect.
Yeah, I lose money, but I'll make it up in volume.
The thing I don't get is when people don't do the simplest things that they can do, like those things that I was talking about. Now, I'm not saying that people should not do an LLC or an S corp versus sole proprietor. I think it makes complete sense to be able to have more deductions and be able to take some of that money out of the government's hands. But at the same time, I'm like, why aren't you doing some of the simplest things that you can do, like contributing to, if you have a qualified plan for health insurance, make sure you're contributing to your HSA. I don't get why people don't do that. 401k, the same thing. I don't get why people don't do that. I am dumbfounded that people want to throw money away, because that's really all they're doing. Isn't that right?
Yeah, they're throwing the money away, but it's the surface street versus pay the tolls. It's easier to pay the toll. You get off the surface street, you might have to sit at a stop sign, a red light, whatever. It's slower. It's easier to run through our lives oblivious than it is to get a little bit of knowledge. And I'll tell you, this is the tax code. You ready? About 20,000 pages of code and regulations. About 10% of it is the taxes we pay. The rest of it, 90%, is how to avoid the 10%. If and it's a huge amount. So people are just like, I'm not even going to do it. It's bad enough I had to figure out what 10% of it said. And usually they don't even want to know that. They're like, just take it out of my check. Give me what's left. Here's something that'll freak you out. And when I saw this, the reason I know it's going to freak you out is because it freaked me out. So remember your first job?
Yeah.
What did you do? Because I did McDonald's.
I worked in a ski store doing stock for the shelves. I was 14 to 17 years old.
Do you remember your first check? And you get a check?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't remember the amount, but I remember the freedom I felt with that first check. It was probably $150.
Yeah, and do you remember looking at it going, who are all these things? Where did my money go?
Who is FICA and why am I paying them?
That's exactly it. So here's what's weird. We get into this whole class warfare thing where it's like the rich don't pay their fair share of tax and all that stuff. How about this? The poor get audited 5 times more than the rich. And the poor, I mean the poorest of the poor, the people with their own income tax credit, they literally get audited 5 to 6 times as often. But they also pay more tax because the employment taxes in this country, which if you're familiar with Social Security, it actually phases out. So by the time you get to $147,000, the vast majority is gone. You're paying this little bit of Medicare portion, but the big chunk, the old age, it's old age disability and survivors benefits, 12.4%. We're paying that. It's people making less than 150,000. Do you know that it was last year, the government raised more from that type of tax, the employment tax, than all of the federal income taxes on individuals?
Wow.
So it's the one tax we never talk about, and it's the most insidious tax that kicks us. And of all the incomes that are out there, that's the only one that's on our labor. That anything else you make, you want to go make money in real estate, you get rents, or you invest in the stock market, you get dividends and capital gains. You don't pay Social Security on. It's only your labor. And so what do? They push us to go work. and we pay the highest tax. We're almost doubling our tax bill because of it. And it's it's kind of this kind of goofy thing. You're saying, hey, if you don't want to pay tax, be an investor.
I was going to say, don't go to work, but be an investor instead. It probably is a great way to do it.
Look at Elon Musk. So we now know how he avoided, he had this huge tax liability. And those of us in the tax industry were laughing because we're like, he did a donation. We know for sure he's not paying the capital gains on all those just Tesla shares. So he donated a bunch of Tesla shares, biggest donation in history, to his own charity. Offsets the tax. I don't know if it was dollar for dollar, but I can almost guarantee you the way that rich people work is they let their assets grow and then they borrow against it. And you don't pay tax on loans. So you fill up your stock account and you let it grow, and you need $100,000. You don't sell stock. You use your stock as collateral and borrow it.
All right, let's talk to the regular person, the regular guy or a woman that's out there listening to this show, and let's get them one step closer to invisible. We talked about a couple of things, or I talked about a couple of things in the introduction. I was talking about property and assets and investments to reduce tax liability. You can pick any of those three. Can we talk about property for a second? Do you want to talk about assets, or you want to go investments? What's best?
Yeah, let's go properties.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about the best way for someone that is a non-investor in real estate right now to take their first baby step towards investment.
If you're going to go buy, like you're talking about real estate, and you want
when I say property, sorry, I meant real estate. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. So, I would say the way that I teach it, and I do stewardship on finances, is usually you want to stay liquid. So I tend to start on the stock side, and about $50,000 you want to have liquidity. So that means you're buying your bread and butter stocks and having a portfolio, usually an income portfolio. Follow Warren Buffett. Don't listen to anybody on TV. Buy things that you use that are profitable. So Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Chevron, Starbucks, Costco, Walmart, all that stuff. Fill your account, or just buy an SPY. Once you get through there, then you realize if you really want to retire, I've done the numbers, and in any average property with average rents, you need about 5 properties outright, and you could probably never work again.
Wow. Okay. And in what area of the country do you look? Do you have to look in your backyard? Like if it's me, I'm in California, the average property out here in my neighborhood is probably going for over $1 million. I could never have 5 of those properties. But if I look in Ohio, or if I look in Vegas, where I know properties seem to be a little bit more reasonable in price, then I might be able to get a handful of properties there.
Yeah, so Vegas, not so much anymore.
Oh, really? Is that the case?
Absolutely. Yeah, but what you do is, so the average rent, let's just say that the average rent of a 1-bedroom is $1,300. In California, It's going to be higher, but also the property values, the average median house is over $800,000. So you're right on key. So you go to places where the median homes are $200,000 below, so they cash flow. And you're just going to buy bread and butter houses. I buy them in Winston-Salem, North Carolina right now. I have a couple hundred properties there. I have properties that we bought here in Vegas when the market was down. We bought a bunch in Houston, Oklahoma City, Indianapolis. We even have some Memphis, Tennessee, and we have some in Mississippi.
Sorry, don't mean to interrupt you. I'm just curious. How does a guy that lives in, let's say, Arizona get to South Carolina to figure out what property is best? Does he have to bring in a manager to do that, a real estate agent? What would be the way to do something like that?
Yeah, so it is your property managers, but you're looking for a specific type of property manager. You want one that actually invests and has 1,000 to 2,000 properties underneath their belt, and they're selling turnkey properties. So that's who I work with. That's usually who I'm buying from. And what you're trying to do is get into I don't want to get into too.
That's all right. Too deep, right?
Yeah, but you're using wholesalers, so you're usually trying to buy a package of properties. So imagine an investor is getting towards the end of their life, or maybe they've passed away, and somebody has 20 properties. You just split them up. Hey, let's buy some. You take 5, I'll take 5, you take 5. So you're kind of divvying them up, and you're trying to get them at a really good deal. And then you just keep them forever. You just let them become little cash machines. And it's not that expensive. I would say that the average price that you're paying right now for a good cash flow property is around 120,000. And I will say this to everybody out there who's a naysayer. No, you look at manufactured housing. I bought a 29 lot mobile home park, and it costs $60,000 to $70,000 per unit to put a 3-bedroom, 2-bath on there. that's going to rent for $1,100. Yes, it's doable. I do it all the time. Just trust me on this. It's probably not in your backyard, but you're not buying it for its aesthetics. You're buying it for the numbers.
Right.
I don't buy on comp. I buy on cap. Is kind of the rule. Is you just look at it as a cash machine. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what color it is. I don't care how many doors it has. I just care how much it's producing, and that tells me what it's worth. And then you buy things that have a decent return, and you do that, and you're never really disappointed.
I love it. Okay, so that's with real estate investment. Now, how about, and you talked a little bit about investments themselves. You want to get as quickly as you can to having 50 grand in some everyday, the things that you're using, gas stations and Walmarts and Netflixes and all of those things that you're using.
Things that you know. And here's the most important thing. You look at what's called cash free flow. You're looking at how much money they actually make and pay out to their shareholders. So, like, Doug, would you loan somebody money and not charge them interest?
No.
Then why do we buy stocks and let them get away with not paying us? When we buy stocks in the stock market, the vast majority of them don't pay you. You're hoping that they go up. So I'm hoping that Uncle Ned pays me more than what I loaned him.
Are you talking about a dividend or something else?
Yeah, I'm talking exactly about a dividend. And it's the tax code tells us it's great because, let's say that you're somebody who's starting out and you're making, let's say you're married, filing jointly, you're making 60 grand a year, 70 grand a year.
Mm-hmm.
Your dividends are tax free because you're in the 0% tax bracket for long-term capital gains, and dividends are taxed as capital gains. So the Congress is telling you should invest in this because you'll never pay tax on that.
Okay, so let me just make sure I got this right, because this is, again, something I wasn't even aware of. So when I go out there looking for those everyday common stocks, whether they be department stores or gas companies or whatever, I'm looking for a company. The qualifier for whether I'm going to even think about investing in them is, do they pay a dividend?
Yep, you can get like a 5-6% interest rate right now with dividends only on a big chunk of the stock market. And better yet, look at something called an aristocrat and a king. An aristocrat is a larger company, $1 million or $1 billion and above, that's been paying out increasing dividends. Every year they raise their dividends for 25 years or more. A king has been increasing its dividend 25 or 50 years or more. And there's only about 25 of them. It's a really small world, and all of a sudden you don't have to pay much attention to the rest of the market.
This is great. This is information that I had no idea. I have a financial planner that helps me with my long-term and my retirement stuff, and then I literally put $100 every month into a Robinhood account just to kind of do something that I won't.
Doug, here's the life hack. Do that, buy something you know and like that's profitable. So, like, hey, again, you pretty much can't go wrong. I'm sitting here with a Coke Zero, right? Just buy Coke, right? Exactly. Yeah. And if you can't, if that's too much for you, just buy the SPY. Just buy the whole market. Hey, I'm just going to buy the market. Do you know that they've done studies? There's something called SPIVA, where they did a study of money managers. What percentage of money managers beat the SPY in a 15-year stretch?
I'm going to say it's probably pretty low. I'm going to go with low.
Let me see if I can do that right. 8%.
8%?
Yeah. So 92% of the.
So your best bet is not even pay the management fee, just invest in an S&P fund.
I'm sorry. That's the most horrible thing that a lawyer and a tax guy could say, but I'm going to say it. The best thing you could do is fire everybody. And the life hack is put it on autopilot. Like, go to your thing and say, hey, buy the SPY every month for $100.
$100, right.
Reinvest the dividends, because about 40% of it's going to be dividend. And then you take this little hand and you stick it underneath your butt cheek, and you take your other hand and stick it under the other butt cheek and wait.
Yep.
And Warren Buffett says it all the time. Like, he's pretty straight up about it. He's like, most of those guys I don't listen to. They're idiots. That, the worst advice you could ever get is from these guys. They just want to agitate you and get you to do something because they make money when you do it. The best thing you could do is buy some good companies, just a good handful of them. And that's, like, again, go watch Warren Buffett, go read his letters to his shareholders.
I'm with you.
And he says it all the time.
I don't ever want to talk to, I mean, I love my financial planner. I've known him for 30 plus years. I don't want to talk to him because I don't want to make any change. Look, it's just a crapshoot. He's got money managers that are handling the money for him. He's the advisor. He's got money managers that work for these huge funds, and they all want you to change all the time. And I don't want to change. I love the idea of just like, I haven't looked, I know this is horrible. Nice guy community, you're probably going to send me emails and tell me, why the F are you doing this? I have not looked at my statement in 2 years.
That's the life hack right there. Ready for the life hack? Everybody want to know easy life hack is open up an account, set it on autopilot, and then lose your password for 20. And 20 years from now, you're going to be like, whoa, what happened? And again, I'm not a financial advisor. And I do, by the way, say that there is a world for financial advisors. I call it your third, 30%. Then you have a financial advisor that maybe is helping you along. But when you start, don't waste that money, because a good chunk of your profit and all the growth actually goes to Wall Street. When you look at the numbers, like even on a mutual fund, people don't realize this. You're paying about, on average, 4.8%.
Yeah.
And if it's growing at 7%,
you're not even keeping up with cost of living.
God, you just nailed it. You just said it better than I could.
I hate that. I hate when you look at something, it's like, well, I got 4% on it. No, you really didn't, because it cost us 4.5% last year just to live.
Doug, I remember this because it was my birthday and my mom had called me, and she always asks, because she's older and she gets really nervous. She's in her 80s and she's worried about running out of money. And she has this financial planner.
We're not brothers, are we? Because that's what my mom does too. She's just about to turn 90. Same thing.
We are brothers, Doug. We just didn't realize it. It's the beard. But she's sitting here saying, she had her favorite financial planner. The guy, he always wears nice suits. He's so well behaved. And I said, did your account make money last year? And she tells me the number. And I said, well, what was it last year? And she goes, it was a higher amount. So she lost money. Right? But that's not what she says. She goes, he says I made about 7%. But your account value went down. Did you take money out of it? No, I didn't take any money out of it. So this is like crazy land, right?
Right.
They're saying that you made money, but because of their fees, you actually went backwards in your account.
Oh, I got you. I was not capturing that.
Well, that's what it is they'll always say, so like on a mutual fund, they don't have to disclose all the costs and the management fees. Oh yeah, we made 7% last year. You made 2%. When you actually get your pencil out and like, hey, it started at 100,000 and now it's at 102,000. I think I can do math. That sounds like 2%. But they'll tell you made a larger amount because they don't have to tell you net of all the fees and all the costs. And that's exactly what I was on my birthday. I still remember having that conversation. It's like, it's surreal. I'm like, Mom, your account went down. I think you lost money. Nope. He's the nicest guy. And it always goes back to that. And I do not fault financial planners. Love financial planners to the extent that they're willing to be fiduciaries and really look out for their people. But as well as I do, there's actually a really good case. So it was, I don't want to say it was Morgan Stanley or Merrill Lynch. I can't remember which one of it. They sued themselves. The employees sued the brokerage house for violating their fiduciary duty in their 401k because they were using their own products and that there was cheaper.
Wow.
Yeah, it's actually a case. They ended up getting tossed out.
That's no conflict of interest there.
But you're looking at it going, wait a second. You're suing your own employer for buying the products that you sell to other people. You can't make this stuff up because it violates the fiduciary duty that they owed to you as a retirement plan participant. And they don't owe you the same duty. That's the one thing that you got to get through your head is that a lot of these folks out there, if they're not a CFP, if they're not a fiduciary, they don't owe you the duty to put your interest before their own. They're selling you something based off of suitability, and they can load you up with a bunch of crud, and you're not too happy about the results. And we see it over and over again. Like I'm seeing it this year. All these folks that are just, their accounts are down 20, 25%, and they're freaking out. My mom's, again, one of those. She's like, I already have money. And I'm like, Mom, don't worry, I got you. But if you don't have somebody that says, hey, Mom, I got you, you're worried about outliving your money. I hate that. So I just reverse it.
Yeah, and don't look at your statements. I don't mean to say that like put your head in the sand, but nobody made money this year, and if you did make money this year, then you're doing something that's riskier than risk. I mean, it's that kind of thing that I just don't even want to think about. I'd much rather, I hate to say this, but I'd much rather lose 20% knowingly than put money into a crypto thing and lose 80% of it because I thought I was doing something smart.
So Doug, I don't want to contradict you, but a bunch of our clients are still making money, and they do exactly what we're talking about. The volatility is really low when things get pushed down because of like they're hiking up interest rates. And this is, again, it's Warren Buffett. He says that's gravity. And gravity gets really heavy if you're weak. And so if you were a company that was getting huge valuations when there was no gravity because you could borrow money like crazy and it was really cheap, then you could jump really high because there's no gravity, and then you put some gravity on them, and all of a sudden they can't get off the ground. But the companies that are strong, that were making profit, they actually do really well in these with these downturns. And so, again, I don't.
No, that's all right, man. Look, you're the professional. I'm not. I'm the one that's sitting on my hands and just saying I'm not even going to open up the statement this month because I already know that the market is down. So I don't even want to see it. If I last another 2 years without seeing it, by the time I look in 2 years, it'll be like, oh, it's at least back to where it was 2 years before I started looking.
Just remember, they make money on activity. You make money on inactivity. And they're going to tempt you. Oh, the market's going to crash. You better sell. Oh, this is going to happen. You better do this. You can't time the market. Just dollar cost average. Just buy stuff consistently. I have a little chart that says when is it time to buy, and it's this little chart, and it's buy. Nobody knows. Just buy good companies at a good price, and when they're on sale, maybe buy a little bit more, and then let it do its thing. And I'm going to back you up 100%. So I lived up in Seattle for a lot of years, and one of my neighbors was a guy. He played for the Mariners, super cool guy, Billy Hasselman. I don't name drop it. He wasn't a starter, I don't think, but he ended up coaching for the Red Sox and all that stuff. But he ended up becoming a financial advisor for a spell, and he was working with probably the top guy on the West Coast who worked with all the athletes. His statement to me was, and it didn't hit me at the time because this is probably 15, 20 years ago, is he said, yeah, he tells them, don't look at your account statements. Look at the revenue that comes into your account. He would say, don't look at that. Look at this. Don't look at the value of it. Look at what it's producing. And it hits me because we do that with our own houses. Could you imagine if there was a ticker signal over your house and you drove home every night and you're like, oh, my house is down 1%. Like, or it's up 10%. We should sell, baby. Like, what are we going to buy? Everything's up 10%.
Yeah, I totally get it. Totally get it. Take yourself back to your early 20s as we start winding up the end of this interview, because this is fascinating. I love your subject matter, and I do want to continue the conversation, and I want to get some feedback back from the community, and then have you back on again to talk about what they talk about. But I want to know, if you had to go back and do it all over again, and in your early 20s, and you're just starting out your career, what's some advice that you wish that you knew, that you probably know now, that you didn't know back in your early 20s?
Yeah, I could tell you exactly. I sat with a guy in I think it was 88. Guy, I shouldn't say his name, but Boyd is his first name. He was he's a realtor in Seattle, and a really good friend of mine's dad was like a mentor to me. He sat me down and he started showing me his list of properties. Remember the dot matrix printer?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, these lists
with the pins on the side.
Yeah, it was one of those, and I was sitting there like, and I'm a punk. I'm going to go take on the world, blah, blah, blah. And he's showing me this list, and he's showing it to me just to show that, hey, here's my list of properties, and I invest in these. And he's telling me that he owns a bunch of cash machines, is basically. Mm-hmm. And it did not hit me. And I was too stupid to recognize what he was really telling me. All I could think of is how much those properties were probably worth. I just kept going, oh my God, he's got to be worth millions and millions of dollars. I'm looking at my buddy Jerry. I'm like, boy, must be really, really smart. He goes, oh yeah, he went to Harvard, but the guy was really modest. And he kept talking about buying decent bread and butter properties. And it did not stick to me. It was like I was Teflon and just ricocheted off, and stupidity stayed in there. And it was probably 10 years later before I was like, holy cow, that guy doesn't have to work. He's got so many properties that he could never work again. He probably couldn't outspend his money because it keeps those properties just create more.
The cash flow. It's the revenue that comes in every month in and month out. It's not the overall value. While that's good when he goes to sell it, that's not valuable for him right now.
It's Monopoly. Could you imagine playing Monopoly, just hoping like to go around the board and collect $200 every time and staying out of jail? Yeah, that's my goal, not to own anything. I'm not going to buy anything I land on. I'm just $200 every time I go around. I'm going to win. You're going to get taken to school by everybody that's buying stuff that you're going around. And we ignore that. And that just didn't sink in with me. I was just too stupid at the time to recognize it. Now I recognize it. Wow. That is one thing that I wish that had stuck with me in the 80s, because I mean, I own hundreds of properties now. I'm really, really blessed. And I'm one of those guys that I just love what I do. I get to talk taxes and stuff, but I love talking investing to anybody who's young, especially. No offense to the old people, but it's really fun. I just say, if you're 18 and how much debt do you have? What's your net worth? If it's zero, I say, just don't do worse than that.
That's right. There's some people that just can't even go beyond that.
Just don't do worse.
Right.
Just don't become negative net worth. Don't go get yourself $200,000 of debt for something that's not really an asset. Go and buy assets. If that's all you did, I would say just start buying when you're, if you don't have parents that'll buy for you, buy when you're 18. And there's something magical that happens. And so you're a car guy. I can see all the cars behind you. But if you start looking at a particular vehicle, so I see a Mustang over your shoulder. If you start thinking of a particular year and a particular make, you might see it now. You could literally, if you're not thinking about it, you're never going to see it on the freeway.
Right.
But it becomes relevant to you. And they actually call that Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. Nothing's relevant to you until you make it relevant to yourself. Your brain will literally ice it out. If you don't invest, it's not relevant to you.
Right. Right.
You'll never learn it. So the best thing you could do if you're 18 is buy a share of something and then start looking at it. Now it's relevant to you. And if you have a little bit of money in it, now it becomes really relevant. And you'll actually be teachable at that point. So again.
So is it ever too late? You got a guy like me. I was born in 1964. I didn't really have any money most of my life, but I never was in debt.
Mm-hmm.
But it's only been the last 10 years that really things started to pop for me in a good way. And I look at it and think, God, at 47, which is what I was 10 years ago, or 48, 10 years ago, it's too late for me. When is it too late, or is it never too late?
It's never too late so long as you're willing to create a 200-year plan. So here's the beautiful part. You got to be thinking multiple generations. And some people go, oh, shoot, Toby, you had me until you started acting stupid and talking about 200-year plans, right? No, if you start thinking about something that's way in the future and you say, what does my estate look like? It doesn't have to be what everybody pretends that is like, hey, I'm going to leave money to my kids. Probably the worst thing you could do, my experience, is leave money to somebody who's not prepared for it, or to leave money who doesn't need it.
Mm-hmm.
What's really a good plan is to create a system that they can't get, they can't get to it if they shouldn't have access to it.
Right.
And if they need it, they can get to it. That's just using a simple trust or a really simple estate planning vehicle. And then all you have to do is get a life insurance policy on yourself and die at some point. That will fund it. So your plan will, like if you're looking at a 200-year plan, you are good if that's what you do. Hey, I got some term on myself, and all I got to do, we were talking about motorcycle riding. All I need to do is get a Harley and drink and drive, and I'll take care of the plan for itself. Right. So, but there's a lot of truth in that too. When you start looking multiple generations down the line, and I'll plant some seeds here that might bear fruit. Think about what your grandparents, if they had left something for you, like if they had left you $10,000, you would have just blown it and done something, probably been popular in your college fraternity or something for a while, right? But if your grandparents had said, hey, you know what, Doug, it's really cool to travel the world and get to know other cultures. We put money aside to send you out of the country once a year for 7 days. You can pick whatever country you want to go to. We just encourage you to go explore the world. And if that's all they did, just think of the impact that would have had. Like I have a client who actually did just that. So I always use that. I'm like, that is the coolest thing. I wish my now think of it. If your great grandparents had done it, you'd actually know who they were.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd probably be like, it might not be the first 10 trips, I think it's really hard to be a jerk when you travel internationally and you see how the world lives. Like, you realize just how lucky we are, right? It's hard to be kind of one of those people that seems to think the world is horrible here. I'm like,
what an interesting idea. So great an idea. So great to have you on the show, Toby. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you sharing your expertise, and whoever ended up booking you for this show, I think we just stumbled upon each other, but I definitely want to stay in touch with you because I love the strategies and the theories that you have, and the stuff that you actually, you not only talk the talk, but you've walked the walk also. It sounds like you have done well doing what you espouse to other people as well.
Yeah. Beware of anybody who doesn't do what they tell you to do.
So tell people in our community how they can get more of you. I know you have a YouTube channel. So is it just Toby Mathis? That's that it? Just go to YouTube and type in Toby Mathis?
Yep, that's it. My company, our firm is 500 strong, a bunch of accountants and attorneys. But I'll tell you what, we just want people to be successful. We want to give you all the tools to be successful. The cheap and easy way is Toby Mathis, and go to my YouTube channel. It's free. And
nice.
A to Z, that's what we discuss: how to be successful and get rid of all the noise that's out there.
Check out Toby's YouTube channel. Check out his website. Also, we'll make sure we put links to all of his social media channels right there in the show notes. Toby, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Doug.
Hey, Nice Guy community, never underestimate the power of nice or the power of not looking at your freaking statements when they come in the mail every month. Special thanks to Toby Mathis. All of his information, including access to his YouTube channel and all of his social channels, will be right there in the show notes. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Fill up your week with the nice guys. Well, there's always money in the banana stand.